We're talking with Zed Jalani of the Progressive Campaign Change Committee. You can follow him on Twitter at Zed Jalani, Zaidjilani. Zed, you've been very critical, in particular, of the president's targeted killing policy. And the idea that the authorization of the use of military force in Afghanistan back in 2001, now the president apparently, at least according to one Department of Justice white paper, may be interpreting the justification for the original Afghanistan war to target anybody, anytime, summarily, judge them, determine them to be a national security threat or an enemy combatant, and with the advisors, without any transparency, kill them, including if they're a United States citizen, and including in any territory, not just the ones with which we are officially at war. What about this troubles you?
Well, I mean, it's something that if you look back 4 or 5 years in history, you'd never think that you'd have to be debating this with a Democratic president, right? Because I think Democrats were very outspoken, rightly, against the abuses that occurred under George W. Bush, because he would indefinitely detain Americans, for example. He would detain people without trial, whether they were Americans or not Americans. He'd do things like that. But I think Obama's sort of transitioned from doing that. He's improved actually on that a little bit in the sense that he outlawed torture in his first days in office. But he's gone from doing that to, I think, ramping up the use of assassinations, which, at one point were just totally banned. And that's why we don't call these assassinations, because actually they were banned during the Nixon years. Congress, actually during the Reagan years, they were formally banned, but during Nixon years there started to be oversight over it. So they don't call them assassinations, but he's...
I want to jump in there just for a second
Yeah.
because couldn't you make an argument that in the 70s and the 80s, when these assassinations were occurring, they were a lot of times occurring for a dubious cause, that we were picking off political rivals, people, social democratic leaders in Latin America and places like that, that were not at all a security threat to the United States, that were really just a threat to military dictators that we were friendly with, that perhaps posed the threat to our multinational corporations stationed in those countries. Is that at all different from killing people that some evidence would suggest are determined to kill American civilians?
Well, I do think there is a difference in the sense that you're right. Like the U.S. tried to assassinate, Fidel Castro like dozens of times, never succeeded, which says a little bit about both groups. But in this sense, they aren't, assassinating political opponents as far as we know, things like that. But the problem is that I think it's the legal territory they're stepping in. I mean, very few people would dispute that. Let's say if a group of people, had guns and attacked like an American school or something, very few people would say, okay, well, the military or the cops or whatever can't go fight those people and, if necessary, kill them in self-defense. The problem is that the Obama administration doesn't really have any guidelines for what they're doing. The United States is not supposed to be at war in Pakistan. It's not at war in Yemen. It's not at war in Somalia. And yet it uses these tools to kill suspected terrorists and anyone who happens to be within 500 feet radius or whatever, the blast ranges of these things. So they're stepping into a legal territory that doesn't exist, and a lot of people are being hurt and killed by it. And there's a lot of people out there who argue it's outside the boundaries of the law. So I think you're right in the sense that it's not like traditional assassination from what we think about it, but it is extrajudicial killing. It's outside the system of law and it's outside the system of war. So in a sense, we're in a really lawless territory, which is, I think, one of the most dangerous things about it, because it's very difficult to end something that doesn't, have a declared beginning or end. It doesn't really have any legal limitation. I mean, the sort of justification they laid out for it lets it be almost limitless, which is why, returning to our previous subject, people like Rand Paul say, I'm going to place a hold on Brennan until they give me an answer to the question, can we do this on U.S. soil? Because given the justifications they put out, I don't really see why they wouldn't be able to do it on American soil if they felt like, a drone was more convenient than sending out a SWAT team.
Yeah, there was a great Onion headline about that. Could the president sort of kill a United States citizen who beat him at basketball or who was taking out his daughter on a date? Obviously,